All right, let's dive into one of the most important, and let's be honest, sometimes stressful parts of running any application. How do you keep it healthy? And more importantly, how do you figure out what's wrong when it gets sick?
You know the feeling, you get that horrible message in Slack or that urgent email. The app is slow, people are complaining, and all eyes are on you. It's this moment of panic, right? It feels like you're lost in a maze of servers and code. Where on earth do you start looking?
So here's the trick. You gotta change how you think about this. Stop acting like a firefighter just trying to douse the nearest flame. Instead, start thinking like a doctor. Your application, that's your patient. It's showing symptoms, it has a medical history, and it has vital signs we can check. Our job is to be methodical and make a real diagnosis.
Okay, so here's our game plan for this checkup. First, we'll visit our digital hospital, the Cloud Ops Clinic. Then we'll look at the patient's history using logging. After that, we'll check its live vital signs with monitoring. We'll see what happens when the alarms go off. And finally, we'll pull it all together for the full diagnosis.
So, first stop, our specialized facility for application health, the Cloud Operations Clinic. This is our digital hospital, fully equipped with everything we need to figure out exactly what's going on inside our patient.
Now, in the Google Cloud universe, our clinic is officially called the Operations Suite. You might still hear people call it by its old name, Stackdriver, by the way. Just think of it as the room that has all the diagnostic tools we're going to need all in one place. So, when you go to the doctor, what's the very first thing they do? They ask questions about your past, right? When did the pain start? What did you eat yesterday? Well, in our digital clinic, that's called logging. We're asking that fundamental question, what happened? And this right here is probably the most important distinction to get straight in your head. Logging is all about the past. It's forensic. It's a detailed, chronological record of everything that has already happened. Monitoring, on the other hand, is about the present. It's diagnostic. It's checking the pulse, the blood pressure right now. So logging looks back, monitoring looks now. So to put it simply, cloud logging is basically our patient's complete medical chart. It's one central place where every little thing that happens, every request, every error, every event is written down in order so we can go back and search through it later.
Okay, so you might be wondering, how does the application actually write this history? Well, in modern setups like Google Kubernetes Engine, the recommended way is just beautifully simple. Your app doesn't need to do anything special. It just writes its regular messages to what's called standard output and any errors to standard error. The platform behind the scenes automatically scoops all of that up and sends it to cloud logging. It's amazing because your developers don't have to worry about it at all.
But, what happens when a specialist needs to see that chart? Say you have a security team and they use their own tool, like Splunk. They need a live feed of all the security-related logs. You can't just give them the keys to your whole project, right? You need a secure, clean way to send them just the information they need.
Wow, there's a really neat pattern for that. First, we create something called a log sync. Think of it like a smart filter. It sits there and grabs only the logs that match our criteria, say, just the security audit logs. Then it sends them to a messaging service called PubSub, which is like a super reliable central mailbox. From there, the security team's Splunk tool can just pick up the mail. It's clean, it's secure, and it keeps everyone's tools separate. All right, we've dug through the patient's history with logging. Now it's time to hook up the monitors and check their vital signs. This is monitoring. We're shifting our focus from the past to the immediate present to answer, how is the health right now? See, monitoring isn't about reading pages of text. It's all about numbers. We are watching real-time streams of numerical data. We call these numbers metrics, and they are the heartbeat, the pulse, the temperature of our system. They tell us exactly what's going on at this very second.
And that's exactly what cloud monitoring is. Think of it as that big machine in the hospital room with all the live charts and beeping numbers. It's constantly collecting all these metrics to give us a live dashboard on the health, performance, and uptime of our application.
But just staring at a screen full of numbers doesn't really help, does it? The doctor needs that heart monitor to start beeping like crazy if something is wrong. We need to turn these quiet numbers, these passive metrics, into loud, active alerts. So let's break it down. First, you have a metric. A metric is just a number, a fact. For example, the CPU utilization is currently 15%. That's it. That's the metric. It doesn't say if that's good or bad. It's just a piece of data. Then you build an alerting policy on top of that. This is the brand of the operation. It's a rule that we create, It watches the metric and says, okay, if that CPU number goes above 80% and stays there for 5 minutes straight, then it's time to do something. And that something is paging the on-call engineer. See? It turns a simple fact into a reason to act.
So if you're ever confused, just remember this. A metric tells you a fact. An alert tells you to act.
Okay, so logging and monitoring are our bread and butter. They're our stethoscope and our thermometer. But every now and then, a patient's symptoms are really complicated, and we need to bring in the specialists with the fancy machines for a full diagnosis.
Our alert might scream, "The app is slow," and our logs might confirm, "Yep, user requests are timing out." But that's just the what. We still don't know the root cause. We need to dig deeper to find out where in the system the slowdown is happening, and more importantly, why it's happening.
And this is where the rest of the clinic's toolkit comes into play. We've got logging for the past and monitoring for the present, but to find out where a request is getting stuck as it jumps between different services, we use a tool called Cloud Trace. And to figure out why our code is suddenly eating up all the CPU, we use Cloud Profiler to pinpoint the exact lines of code responsible. It's all about using the right tool for the right question.
And this is really the whole point of all of this. We don't want to just be emergency room doctors, only showing up when the patient is crashing. The real goal is to be preventive care physicians. We use this whole toolkit for regular checkups to find small problems and fix them before they ever become big enough for a user to notice. That's the leap from being reactive to being proactive.
All right, let's bring it all home. If you only take away a few things from our little trip to the digital clinic today, let it be these. First, always treat your application like a patient. Second, remember its history is in the logs and its current vital signs are in monitoring. Third, know that metrics are just data, but alerts are the call to action. And finally, the whole point is to use this entire suite of tools to take proactive care of your application's health.
And that's our checkup for today. Now that you have this doctor's toolkit in your head, think about your own applications. What's the one vital sign, maybe it's latency, maybe it's CPU, that you're going to check first to make sure it's healthy?